Hello, Warhammer YouTubers. It's Hooves of Doom. I'm sitting here in my new hobby room, and I'm absolutely loving it. It's a beautiful room. I just wanted to talk a little bit about hobby rooms in general and then give a tour of this room. This is where I'm going to be doing all the videos and the painting and the gaming for the most part. I'll probably also go down to like the local GW stores or something like that to play, but I really like playing at home. Now, you got to know who your opponent is. I'm not going to invite random strangers over, but but for the most part, I really love playing at home. Home to me is the most comfortable environment to play with. And hobby rooms are just that they're um, a great way to focus on the hobby because everything in this room is hobby related. So even if you're painting and you get a little bit distracted or something, you're distracted by other hobby related things. So it's a great way just to surround yourself with inspiration and really get motivated. But hobby rooms are a major luxury. Obviously, not everyone can have one, and I'm kind of very lucky in that regard. We always go for the biggest room in the house as the hobby room, so I'm kind of spoiled. My wife is very supportive of the hobby, and she's, I think she would rather me do hobby than many other activities. So we use the master bedroom. It's the biggest kind of room beyond the living room, which I've I've argued in the past that maybe we should use the living room. She'll have none of that. So there is a little bit of negotiation there, but for the most part, it's a beautiful room. It has a few extra features that you wouldn't normally find in a hobby room because it is the master bedroom, but it's great. Now, the ideal room for me, I think, would be a basement, something that is, one with carpeted and it's not going to flood, like, a proper basement that has like the entire floor of the house, kind of like a giant rec room. That to me is like the ideal type of place that you could possibly have. And it might be something at some point in the future that, if we buy a house, I'll be looking for those features that are good for the hobby. That's like my number one priority. But I've had many hobby rooms over the years, starting with just a little smaller room that we couldn't even play games in, and I just put things in there, a couple bookshelves and stuff like that. This is, I think, like the 8th or ninth hobby room, and it is probably the most beautiful. But I'm still holding out for that basement idea at some point, because I'd like to have multiple tables. I'd like the idea of maybe having like a hobby gaming night where a number of people can come over and maybe have like a Warhammer club out of it. But I don't know. That might never happen. What I'm liking to do, or what I'm hoping to do in this hobby room as a couple improvements, I'm going to give you a tour of the room in just a couple minutes, and I'd like to frame a couple of the posters, but perhaps the biggest thing I want to add in is a couple of display cabinets. I've been doing a lot of painting over the past year, so getting those models out and putting them in a nice little spot where they can be out of the bins, out of the closet, and out in the open where everyone can see them. That's something I really want to do. There are a number of options for display cabinets. You can get the ones that are made of glass. That gives you a good look at the models from different angles. The other option is to do like a bookcase type of display, and maybe put something on the front of the bookcase, like a a glass door or something like that, which is a possibility. I'm not really sure what I'm going to do. At this point, I'm thinking two cheaper display cabinets. You can get them for about $65 or so from IKEA. I think a little bit more than that, but still fairly cheap and fairly manageable, considering the expense of this hobby. And so that's something that I definitely want to add in. But for now, I think it's a really nice room. So I'll do a little tour and I'll come back. So I'm of the opinion that this is probably the nicest hobby room that I've had thus far. I've had many a hobby room throughout several moves, but this is probably the best. And my goal is to make it a little bit more classy over time. So It has a number of posters on the walls that I just put up. I have a lot more posters, but you kind of have to be a little bit selective on what you want to use. My wife always thinks if you put too many up, it looks a bit tacky. And you know, I probably a little bit too far as it is. But my goal with the posters, I think, is to put them in frames and mount them just to kind of class them up a little bit. There's still a little bit of organizing to do, but I got this nice, you know, it's a cheaper desk from Walmart, but it's a little bit wider than my previous desk. And so that gives me some room to kind of spread out and work on multiple projects. Has lots of natural light from the window. I got this nice little chair there with the banners behind it, and that's where I'm going to be hopefully doing a lot of my videos. And then I have the actual table. This is the same island piece as the previous room, but what we did is we stripped it down because it was kind of a darker green towards the bottom, which didn't really match anything. It was from like the old kitchen, and so we stripped it down. We were initially going to do like a wood varnish, but the wood underneath is really cheap. The paint wasn't coming off that well, so we just decided to paint it black, and I think it looks rather sharp. The piece of plywood we have on top is in a different room. It's kind of like in the laundry room, which is just down the hall. And but this is actually a nice little table for just for playing board games or just having things spread out when you're not playing. So I think one of the best features of the new room are the 3 bookcases which I invested in. And I have them divided between the different game systems. So on one side it's the Fantasy Age of Sigmar. Down below I have all my books out all the way up. These are nice heavy duty bookshelves that can hold a lot of weight, which is what you need for hobby books. So I got all my White Dwarfs down there, which I'm thrilled to have the books out. That was like my biggest thing. I got some of my card games out front, but then on the other side are all the rule books and codexes for Warhammer 40k, all the way up. So I've had these books for years. Most of the time they've just been in boxes. Maybe I have like a few of them out or something like that, but there's just not been the opportunity or space, or I've had like bookshelves that are a bit cheaper and they just couldn't have the weight on them. So I'm really thrilled with this room. I think it's absolutely beautiful, and really excited to kind of, you know, make the spot my own and to play some games in here. But I will say there's a little bit more to explore, because you might notice there's no models. This is actually like a bathroom, which is, I guess, fine. Like I said, it's a master bedroom, hence the extra features. This is the walk-in closet, which is a great little spot for my models. Man, I'm spoiled. I do have a couple t-shirts in here, but it's mostly the models. So they got the unassembled models, which is ridiculous. And then my bits, which I need to take out of the plastic and kind of, that's still from the move. And then all my model bins, arranged by different faction. And yeah, I mean, there's a lot of organizing to kind of do. I just kind of quickly this morning arrange things a little bit better, but it still needs to do. Still needs to get a few things unpacked and a little bit more organized than they currently are. So I think this is a beautiful room. I'm really excited to start using it. So that's the room. I hope you like it as much as I do. I'm now in Colorado. If any of you are in the area at all, feel free to reach out and we'll play some games. And appreciate you guys watching, and have a good one.